From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Is the president ready to ratchet up tariffs on China? Plus, what does a trade war mean for crops in the northern plains? In agribusiness, watching those fundamentals.
If the crowd is gathering, you probably want to step away from it because it's going to be wrong in the marketplace, and that's how it turned out.
Machinery Pete has price details on 55 series tractors, and don't forget about lawnmower safety.
AgDay, brought to you by the Chevy Silverado, the most dependable, longest-lasting full-size pickups on the road.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. American agriculture continuing to face a moving target on trade as new reports say the president is adding pressure on China. Multiple reports Friday saying President Trump is instructing aides to move ahead with $200 billion in tariffs on Chinese products. U.S. stocks reacting negatively to the news Friday. The president tweeting that the U.S. is under no pressure to make a deal with China. But earlier in the week, it seemed the administration was ready to work toward a resolution, sending a note to Chinese trade officials asking for new talks. Chinese officials reacting last week, saying while China was serious about resolving the standoff through talks, it would not be rolled over.
My farmers keep coming in and asking, and it's about as valid a question as you'd ever get. When does this end? Mr. Secretary?
My hope is that the work going on by our friends with USTR on things like NAFTA and then Japan and then all the other bilaterals will bring this back. That is my intent, and that's what we're doing to support them.
So how do we bring this back when we're in the process of another $200 billion in tariffs in the next month or so? They've said another 267 is coming.
Right.
It seems like the light at the end of the tunnel is a train coming at my farmers.
Now, Chinese officials saying last week the Trump administration should not be mistaken that China will surrender to U.S. demands, adding that if the U.S. imposes new levies on Chinese imports, then Beijing will not hesitate to take countermeasures. The impacts of the trade dispute is starting to pile up. That includes grain in the northern plains, where basis is falling and shipments to the Pacific Northwest are now a trickle. University of Illinois' Todd Gleason has more on what that means for transportation this fall.
Well, this fall, farmers will harvest a record-sized soybean crop. USDA says about 4.7 billion bushels. They'll need a home, and farmers in North Dakota are really worried. About two-thirds of their crop is shipped by rail to the Pacific Northwest for export to China. The Trump administration trade policies have mostly closed that market, says North Dakota Senator Heidi Heitkamp.
What I would tell you is not only have we disrupted the markets and are we taking a haircut, you may not be able to sell, which is something I've been talking about for a long time.
Heitkamp was speaking to farmers in Fargo at the Big Iron Farm Show this week. The cash price of soybeans has tumbled across the whole of the Midwest, and some elevators are telling farmers not to bring their beans to town. Those soybeans from the Dakotas and Minnesota are going to try and find another way out of the country. That's probably through St. Louis and down the Mississippi River. It's a brutal cash price situation that backs right up into Illinois, says Todd Hubbs.
I hope some people put it in at 10:30 when we saw those prices in, but now it's just a lot of damage limitation. Hopefully you get a good yield and you can market some of those soybeans, right across the scale, but you're looking at really low prices.
Well, Hubbs is a commodity marketing specialist from the University of Illinois. The only other option he sees is for farmers to store soybeans on the farm and to hope for an end to the trade dispute with China or for a weather problem in Brazil, or both. Though he admits hope is not a strategy. For University of Illinois Extension, I'm Todd Gleason.
Thanks, Todd. One wild card in the supply-demand picture is a growing outbreak of African swine flu. Chinese officials struggling to control the spread of the virus. 10 additional regions have now banned live hog and pig products. The new regions, all located in the 6 provinces, reporting ASF outbreaks in recent weeks. Pork prices in at least one province have increased 23% since the outbreak due to these transportation bans. Pork, well, it makes up about 2/3 of China's meat consumption. Also late last week, new reports from China of an outbreak of foot and mouth disease in cattle. China's Ministry of Agriculture reporting authorities discovered the outbreak on September 6th. Local government officials calling nearly 50 head. They say the outbreak is under control. Assessments are underway following the arrival of Hurricane Florence. $25 billion in ag production at risk from that storm. The National Hurricane Center says that catastrophic freshwater flooding is expected to continue, as some estimate up to 10 trillion gallons of water could fall across the southeast. Now, the storm coming ashore as a Category 1 storm, its intensity diminishing as it neared land with winds dropping to 90 miles per hour. Hundreds of thousands now without power, the storm slowing forward movement, heavy rains magnifying Florence's impact. Farmers in the area spent last week prepping for the arrival of Florence. We should know more about the potential damage to crops and livestock as the week unfolds. Analysis at S&P Global Platts say up to 30% of the soybean crop was at risk in the Carolinas and Virginia. Tariff impacts, price support, and farm income, all part of the discussions around completing a new farm bill. Chairman of the Senate Ag Committee telling his counterparts in the House that they better plan on being at work this week. Politico reporting Kansas Senator Pat Roberts made the statement late last week. The House is scheduled to be out of session this week. Roberts saying the conference committee is running out of time to finish the farm bill before the current bill expires on September 30th. Washington insiders telling AgDay there's already been work prepping legislation for a possible extension of the farm bill if the deadline passes without a compromise. Cindy Clausen joins us this morning with a look at crop comments. Good morning, Cindy.
Good morning, Clinton. Our first crop comment comes from Cody McDaniel, located out in Montana. Cody says he's thankful for the irrigated crops and how they're maturing in his area. He says that's because this region received very little moisture since June. Our next picture comes from Derek Demers, who is picking canola near St. John, North Dakota. He says he is halfway done. Rain had slowed him down. Otherwise, he would have finished canola a few days ago. Coming up, we're going to have your national forecast, but for now, here are some hometown temps.
Plan for the unexpected with weather forecast updates. Local forecasts are delivered right to your cell phone each morning, making planning a little bit easier. Just text Weather 6 to 31313 to get started.
Coming up, the Pacific Northwest ports are putting pressure on bean prices, Chip Flory explains, and analysis, and Machinery Pete is here.
Stay tuned, folks. Coming up, we're going to talk about the popular John Deere 55 Series tractor.
And later, mowing season may be wrapping up, but it's always smart to think safety first.
Advice, information, ideas, and more. If it's ag tech, it's in the Tech Tool Shed, your unbiased one-stop source for everything ag tech.
Livestock markets rallying to end the week. Let's see what contributed to the green. The CME in Chicago.
We got some big news in livestock today, especially in the cattle. It surged today. The Chinese report of the foot and mouth disease came out today that really surprised everyone and got the market off to a big start. It really touched on limit up today. And with this outbreak, it's really exacerbated the troubles that the livestock sector already has in China. And also our improved domestic demand for beef is underpinning this rally as well. So that's making the market really strong. The story is to watch is that the feeders are higher. They really tested the limits here. And what does that tell us? That tells us that there is an idea that they think that the market is, this is going to be a long-term issue. And it seems that with that long-term issue, that this will be just enough to keep driving the market. That's all from the floor at the CME Group here in Chicago. I'm Virginia McGathy.
From USDA reports to trade tensions, there was plenty of fundamentals for traders to digest last week. So where are we headed this week? Pine Morgan asked Chip Flory in today's analysis from the road.
Here now with Chip Flory, host of AgriTalk and AgriTalk After the Bell. And Chip, you know, we've had some time to digest this WASDE report. Big numbers in corn, a bigger corn yield than the trade expected, a large increase in soybean yield. I mean, how big of a crop can this market handle right now?
Well, on corn, I think the market reaction showed us that everybody was leaning the wrong way. I talked about it several times. There was a crowd gathering at 14.5 billion bushels for the corn crop. Well, if the crowd is gathering, you probably want to step away from it because it's going to be wrong in the marketplace, and that's how it turned out. I don't think that corn crop is going to get much bigger from this point. Reason, 214 in Illinois, 206 or 7 in Iowa. Those are huge numbers. We've got to wait for scale tickets and yield monitors, but on soybeans, I think the market really did a nice job of anticipating where USDA was going to end up.
Yeah, and we ended in the green that day, but yet, Chip, we have a lot of soybeans on our hands.
Oh.
Exports aren't anything to brag about. And so it seems like it is just not, the story in soybeans isn't getting any better.
Well, the story in soybeans, it all revolves, in my opinion, around the PNW, the Pacific Northwest. If we can catch a bid out of the PNW, that's going to firm up our Gulf basis, because our exports, they're not as bad as people say that they are.
Well, here we are Monday. What are you watching in the market this week?
Boy, harvest progress. I'm watching the weather. I'm going to try to assess the damage from Hurricane Florence. And then trade talks. Are we actually going to get back to the table?
Right, yep, and Congress, Farm Bill, I mean, we're waiting to see that too. But really, I think that the headline right now is trade.
Trade, yeah. Now that we've got the numbers from USDA for September out of the way, let's put our focus right back on trade.
All right, Chip Flory, thank you so much for joining us. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll have much more on Ag Day on this Monday.
Ag Day, brought to you by Instinct and N-Serve nitrogen stabilizers. They don't just stabilize nitrogen, they maximize it, so crops deliver the max in return. Learn more at maxinmaxout.com.
Welcome back to Ag Day. We're going to start off with the latest U.S. drought monitor, and the eastern part of the country actually looking pretty good. In fact, we're probably going to see this wiped out from the remnants of Hurricane Florence. But in the southwest, especially over towards the Four Corners region, we are still extremely dry. Also, in parts of Missouri, northeastern Kansas, we're really dry, and some of the northern tier states, and it's getting even drier out into the Pacific Northwest. Let's take a look at the rain that we saw over the last week. Now, this is estimated from Saturday on through Friday, so this doesn't include all of Hurricane Florence. So you can see that obviously as it was making landfall, we had a lot of rain already coming through, so this would be even bigger. When we come to you next week, we'll still have some of those remnants. Another area that's seen a lot of rain is parts of the Ohio Valley and in the Tennessee Valley, southern parts of Indiana, southern parts of Illinois as well, and we also had a fair amount along the Gulf Coast of Texas. Let's take a look at what we have in store for us. Here's the jet stream. We still have a big ridge in the eastern part of the country, a bit of a trough out west. As we head through Wednesday, we don't see a whole lot of change, but then further into the week, we start to see that trough making a little bit of movement to the east. The ridge builds just a little bit on the far eastern part of the country, and then heading towards Friday, we see just that little dip there that could bring a storm system and some cooler temperatures starting to dip down from Canada by next Monday. Temperatures overall above normal this week for much of the country. Looks like the cool spots will be up into the northwestern United States, fairly normal into the upper Great Lakes and into the northeast. Precipitation wise, it looks like it's going to be on the wet side in much of the mid-Atlantic, northeastern states, most of the nation's midsection down to Texas and up into the northern plains. A little on the dry side though in parts of the west, especially over towards California. A little bit further into the future, we're going to take a look at our 30-day temperatures, and we'll see warm temperatures in the northeast, also in much of the northwest. A little cool for folks in the southern plains up into Missouri, but fairly normal for a lot of the Corn Belt, especially northern parts of the Corn Belt and the eastern Corn Belt. Fairly normal temperatures in the southeast as well. And then as we take a look at the precipitation over the next 30 days, that's a big one. Lots of folks trying to harvest. We'll see above normal precipitation along the Gulf Coast states and through much of the plain states. Should be fairly normal in most of the northeast. A little on the dry side, though, in parts of the west. That's a look at your national forecast. Now let's check out the weather where you live. Conrad, Montana, partly to mostly sunny skies today with a high of 59 degrees. Highlandville, Missouri, mostly sunny and warm with a high of 86 degrees. And Central City, Pennsylvania, showers and thunderstorms with a high of 71.
Coming up, Machinery Pete looks at the ever-changing 55 series tractor prices and a safety reminder for parents sending kids out to mow the lawn.
Keeping track of the shifting market prices has never been so easy. Get the latest commodity prices sent directly to your cell phone with market updates. Just text Markets 8 to 31313 to get started.
In Machinery Pete TV, Greg looks at changing prices of John Deere's 55 series tractor and even compares them to the year he started compiling that data. Here's Machinery Pete.
Well, John Deere started making the popular 55 series tractor back in 1989. Actually, the exact same year I started compiling auction sale prices. Now, Deere only made this model for a few years, up through 1992, but I tell you what, these 55 series are really popular, and a couple auction prices recently proved the point. Now, here's a picture from a farm sale in central Minnesota back on September 4th. This is a 1992 John Deere 4455 front wheel assist. 2,162 hours on it, went for $64,500. Now, folks, that's the highest auction price in 3 years on a 4455. Now, for perspective's sake, so far this year, the average auction price on a 4455 is $34,946, with a high of $64,500, the one we just saw, and on the low side down to $17,500. Now, for more perspective, if you go back 17 years to the year 2001, you know what the average auction price on a 4455 was? $33,700. Now, last Monday on a farm auction in east central South Dakota, another 55, a hot seller, this 1992 4255 two-wheel drive that had 4,433 hours on it, sold for $45,000. And folks, that is the highest auction price in 2 years on a two-wheel drive 4255.
All right, thanks, Greg. Sales of U.S. tractors and combines remain strong from a year ago. According to the Association of Equipment Manufacturers' latest report, sales of U.S. self-propelled combines rose 24% through August as compared to last year, and sales of four-wheel drive tractors grew 13%. Machinery Pete says used combine values are strong as well.
So the 1- and 2-year-old ones are pretty strong when they show up at auction. I think people really want the warranty. And they're also looking ahead, you know, with the tariffs on steel and aluminum, the costs going up. So they think, oh my gosh, here's a 1-year-old one available. And there weren't as many sold back 1-2 years ago when things were slower. So when they come available now, they're very hot items.
Pete says historically harvest is more of a quiet period to buy from auction, but he's seeing more action here in 2018. And despite the growth, AEM saying there are concerns for the future machinery, including a potential rewrite of NAFTA, trade wars, and a decline in net farm income. Farmers often spend a lot of time on a lawnmower. Up next, we'll talk about the importance of safety from cutting the grass.
Is now the best time to sell your old equipment? Pete's Pick of the Week keeps you up to date on current market prices, making it easy for you to know when to sell your equipment for the best possible price. Text Pete6 to 31313 to get started.
In the Country, sponsored by the all-new Kubota Sidekick, a utility vehicle that lets you climb more, cover more, tow more, and enjoy more. Visit KubotaUSA.com.
When you have your own farm, mowing is part of the long list of chores. Lots of acres means lots of time on a lawnmower, but every summer those mowers send thousands of kids to the ER. Megan Noe with the University of Missouri introduces us to a family hoping their accident will serve as a warning to others.
4-year-old Kansas Mountain is starting preschool this year with sparkly shoes and a pink prosthetic. She's come a long way since 2016 when a lawnmower changed her life forever.
She decided she wanted to ride with Dad and started running towards the mower. As he was backing up, he didn't see her, and the mower knocked her down and ran over her leg.
An accident that is all too common.
It's like a dream that you never wake up from.
According to the Consumer Product Safety Commission, lawnmower injuries send more than 90,000 people to the ER each year, including 4,500 children, and the injuries are often severe.
Lawnmower injuries are very unique in that they come in very, very contaminated, and it really limits kind of the options we have to reconstruct these limbs.
Dr. Sumit Gupta is a pediatric orthopedic surgeon at University of Missouri Healthcare. He recommends several safety precautions, like keeping kids inside or far away while the mower is running.
Be very aware of your surroundings. Children don't understand at that very young age that they can't run out into the lawn.
Dr. Gupta says children should never be allowed to ride on a riding lawnmower. They should be 12 years old before operating a push mower and 16 before operating a riding mower. Despite the accident, Kansas hasn't slowed down a bit, learning to walk and ride a bike.
She can do anything as long as she wants to and as long as she tries.
Amazing her family every day. From the University of Missouri, I'm Megan Noe.
And Dr. Gupta reminds everyone about the importance of personal protective gear like gloves, boots, long pants, and eye protection. And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you started your week with us. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.